after Democratic-run city. Just last week, he told the military he thought maybe it should be a training ground for the U.S. military in our cities internally. You referenced Judge Immergut's decision over the weekend, and I thought it really was a remarkable decision for those of you who haven't read it. You know, she took on Trump's false claims, the false pretext of some kind of an insurrection, or he called it actually an ordering up the troops. He said that Portland was a warlike hellscape. And in her decision, she debunks this completely false claim, and she makes the point that, you know, we're a nation of constitutional law and not martial law. And I think it's really remarkable, both because it's false claims underlying what Trump is trying to do, but also the wide range of the confrontations he's picked all around the country right now. He's opening up a multi-front war on what he and his advisors have called the enemy within. And I think part of the disbelief is that we're watching this unfold with our eyes, but we still can't quite believe that what's happening is what's happening. I was imagining this afternoon, try to cover Governor J.B. Pritzker's press conference as if it was not your present-day self, Steph, but your 1999 self. You know, and what would you say on the news? It would be almost unthinkable to say the governor of Illinois has accused the president of the United States of an authoritarian takeover of Chicago because he's lying about an insurrection that isn't happening and using that to deploy military troops from around the country. It's an amazing moment in American history that we're watching.
Solicitation of these telephone records, which I think emphasizes the political weaponization that was behind all this effort. And we're still getting more information, but we've released some records today, and I'll let Senator Johnson take over from here, and then each one of you colleagues can join in when you want to, whatever you want to say.
First of all, I want to thank Senator Grassley. It is because of his relentless advocacy for whistleblowers that a lot of this information is surfacing right now. We wouldn't know about the list of 100 Republican entities that were targeted by Jack Smith's Arctic Frost investigation. I don't think we know about this as well. So we need whistleblowers. I think Dan Bongino and other folks in the FBI, they don't know where all the records are hidden. They still don't. They're not necessarily getting 100% cooperation. But this is outrageous what has happened. I just want to give you a timeline of this. I think you've already got the FBI sheet that shows the number of members of Congress that were targeted. Representative Kelly, Senators Graham, Hagerty, Hawley, Sullivan, Tuberville, myself, Senator Lummis, and Blackburn. This memo was dated September of 2023. To put it all into context, the Mar-a-Lago raid occurred in August of 2022. Jack Smith announced the indictments against President Trump in August of 2023. So this is almost 2 months later. They're casting this net, this fishing expedition against members of the Senate and the House. Again, I've been investigating this with Senator Grassley. This doesn't surprise me, but it should shock every American of what the Biden administration has done. By the way, this is the first time I was targeted by the FBI. Under the Obama administration, the same thing happened to both Senator Grassley and I. As part of the Foreign Influence Task Force, we were giving a briefing to try and convince us that the Hunter Biden laptop was no big deal. Basically, they're trying to throw us off the track. So this is major corruption that's being revealed inside the Obama and Biden Department of Justice, the FBI, and I'll turn it over to, I guess, Senator Hagerty, who's one of the individuals. Again, none of us were subject or targets of this investigation. There's no predicate. There's no reason for this other than a fishing expedition, which again should outrage and shock every American.
is the primal scream of a dying regime.
Pray for our enemies, because we're going medieval on these people. You're just not got a free shot on all these networks lying about the people. The people have had a belly full of it. I know you don't like hearing that. I know you try to do everything in the world to stop that, but you're not going to stop it. It's going to happen.
And where do people like that go to share the big lie? MAGA media. I wish in my soul, I wish that any of these people had a conscience.
Ask yourself, what is my task and what is my purpose? If that answer is to save my country, this country will be saved.
War Room. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
It's Tuesday, 7 October in the year of our Lord 2025. A little later in the show, it's the second anniversary of the horrific Muslim Brotherhood attack on Israel, state of Israel and the people of Israel, citizens of Israel, that I think we were the only people to cover it live. It was a Saturday 2 years ago. Folks that watched the show back then over the years remember that. I brought Jack Posobiec in and we did it live. We're going to play, I think we're going to pull and play some clips from that. A red letter day. Ed Luce, the lead columnist for the Financial Times of London and one of President Trump's relentless critics on everything, on Morning Joe this morning, walked through and said nobody but President Trump could do what's happening right now in peace in the Middle East. He said it was extraordinary, and actually bending Netanyahu to his will to secure peace. The rest are pretty extraordinary about this insurrection that's taking place in the United States and President Trump's efforts to quell it. In that cold open, I want to thank my team in the War Room, the production team, and also the RAV folks in Denver. It's just extraordinary. The buried lead there, we're talking about Arctic frost. Right now, there's a Judiciary Committee oversight with the Attorney General of the United States, Pam Bondi. We will be going to that live and also pulling some highlights from it. But you just had a U.S. Senator, this was yesterday, Grassley's committee. Remember, Grassley's 90-some years old. He's not a lawyer, total bulldog. You had Senator Johnson. They had the press conference so they could ask whistleblowers in the FBI to start turning over documents to Dan Bongino. Not simply about the senators. We're going to have a number of senators. We're going to have Senator Tuberville, Senator Banks, Senator Hawley on here later to talk about this outrage, but actually ask about the Mar-a-Lago raid. Our first guest this morning is Eric Trump, extraordinary new book, Under Siege, My Family's War to Save America. Eric, when you see that, you see a U.S. Senator asking for, we're going to get into the book, but one of the central inciting incidents in the book is the Mar-a-Lago raid. When you have in 2025, October 2025, a United States Senator at the microphone asking that we need whistleblowers to come through because Dan Bongino and Cash don't have all the documents because they're being hidden by people at the FBI, and particularly not just about the senators, but also about the Mar-a-Lago raid. How does that strike you, sir?
Got the call when the FBI raided Mar-a-Lago. Obviously, I run the Trump Organization. I run all our properties, and a member of my team at Mar-a-Lago called me up and, sir, there's 30 agents at the front gate of Mar-a-Lago. I go, excuse me? There's 30 FBI agents at the front gate of Mar-a-Lago. Okay, why are they there? Well, they have a search warrant, sir. And I go, search warrant for what? I'm totally confused. I mean, and no one saw this coming. And I go, has anybody told my father about this? And everybody was silent. And so I called my father up, and I'll never forget. And he goes, yeah, meet me up in my office. And that's when we wrote the famous tweet that he sent out. The FBI is raiding my home. I talk all about it in Under Siege. And that's just another one of the 1,000 cases of lawfare. Does it surprise me whatsoever that Jack Smith was spying on senators? Not at all. I mean, this is the same guy, Steve, that was planting classified folders in my father's office on the floor to take, pictures that he was otherwise then leaking out to the media. And then they had to admit the fact that they were literally planting evidence at Mar-a-Lago. They did everything they could to try and imprison my father, right? They tried to take him down in every way, shape, or form. That is this, Steve. That's Under Siege, right? That's the world we lived. It's not just the first impeachment. It's not just the second impeachment. It's not just the dirty dossiers. It's not just the Russia hoax, which I was in the center of when the FBI was calling me saying, I hear we have secret servers in the basement of Trump Tower that are communicating directly with the Kremlin. It's just not, X, Twitter at the time, and Instagram and Facebook deplatforming us, and the gag orders, and every DA and every AG around the country coming after him, whether it's Fannie Willis or Alvin Bragg, or the judgments against the company, or the debanking of all of us, or the pulling my father off of the ballots in Maine and in Colorado. This doesn't surprise me at all. I became the most subpoenaed person in American history at 112 subpoenas, and I've never gotten a traffic ticket, Steve. This is the war. Jack Smith is a criminal, in my opinion. What he did is unthinkable. The way he tried to weaponize law enforcement, weaponize the way the DOJ was weaponized, the way the FBI was weaponized. And let's not forget one thing, Steve. Do you remember when they raided Mar-a-Lago? I said, why are they here? And they told me it was because of NARA, right? National record, right? Obviously, does anybody think that a public library, a glorified public library, was making the calls to invade Mar-a-Lago, a former president's home? It was all nonsense. But they wanted to put our family under siege. They wanted to destroy my father. They wanted to destroy us. They wanted to bankrupt us. So this doesn't surprise me that Jack Smith is, tracking the communication of senators. It's actually the least surprising thing I've heard all day, because they're criminals, and honestly, so many of them should be in jail for exactly what they did.
Well, if we get on top of it, and this is part of the oversight on it's going on right now, of Pam Bondi, the Attorney General of the United States. She's testifying under oath in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee. There's going to be some fireworks there as the Democrats come after her hard. We're going to take a short commercial break. We have Eric Trump, an extraordinary new book, Under Siege. I've been waiting for this one for a long time, because nobody has any earthly idea of the whole of government. And I would actually say bigger than the whole of government, almost whole of society, because they brought the business community in. The attempt, not just simply in the first term, but more importantly after they stole the 2020 election, to destroy the Trump family, destroy it. And they never, ever, ever, ever envisioned that President Trump would come back and be the 47th president of the United States. Short commercial break. Eric Trump, the book is Under Siege. You can pre-order it right now on Amazon. Short break.
Welcome to Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Your quick look at the powerful stories of faith and freedom, inspiring audiences across the nation. Angel Studios presents.
I'm Bo Davidson with this Real America's Voice, Real Minute. It's fall, and that means America's favorite sport, football, is back. And Angel Studios has brought a brilliant and inspiring movie about a 59-year-old man who still wants to play the game.
Knock me down, I don't feel pain.
Mike, you're right, you always will be, but you can hit.
After nearly 4 decades, almost 60-year-old Mike Flint returns to his alma mater because he never finished his senior year due to being thrown out for fighting. Actor Michael Chiklis, whom you'll remember from the TV series The Shield, stars in this true story about a man who has unfinished business.
You better get out of my face, little man.
Get out of my face. Nothing matters if I can't be out there with my team.
He has a chance to redo his senior year.
Flint believes that we aren't defined by our successes, but by our regrets. And he says he's had a lot of them, as a teammate, as a husband, and as a dad. The senior reminds us that it's never too late to get in the game and turn things around. You can watch The Senior by going to angel.com/Rav and joining the Angel Guild, a community of like-minded viewers who want to see superb quality content. So get back in the game, relive your dreams, and head on over to angel.com/Rav.
Hi, my name is Tracy L. from Arizona. I don't stink around in the kitchen when it comes to the news. I watch Real America's Voice, which always serves accurate and reliable updates that are on point with their amazing hosts. So don't find yourself in a pickle by tuning into the fake news. Stick with Real America's Voice.
It's
Stacy from Texas. I watch Real America's Voice because I need to learn, and I know I can get the truth through Rav. God bless everyone, and always love the children. Amen.
Hi, I'm Bridgie. And why do I love Rav? Well, even out here in the cornfields of Iowa, I still need news I can depend on. That is Real America's Voice.
I'm Andy M., and I love Real America's Voice, where my voice counts and your voice counts. That is America's
Much.
Not really.
And nor does President Trump. No, I know. I slept 4 hours last night.
And you feel fine? Okay, that's
I'm on my. This is my fourth cup of coffee.
4 hours is nuts. 4 hours is Trump level.
4 hours, yeah. And the night before was like 6. Before that was like 7. So it varies. But is that what he sleeps, like 4 hours?
He does not sleep.
Yeah, I did Fox and Friends finance segment, and it was just on Gen Zs and finance. And one of the executive producers we just want to show you around, and they showed me the control room. And I said, how have things been in the control room as of late? And she's like, none of us are sleeping because the president doesn't sleep. We're all working 2 times right now. Do you feel that way?
I was just talking to someone about this because we wrote this story on what traveling with him is like in the first term, because I had this source who said, you never want to be on Air Force One on a trip. And I said, why? You'd think you want to be in the axis of power close to Trump. He doesn't sleep on these trips. And you're going to Asia or something, and that's kind of the only time you're going to sleep before you go on this trip.
Yeah.
But Trump is just always up and talking, and he'll have them go wake staff up if they're asleep because he wants to talk to them. And so we have this big trip to Asia coming up, and you're not going to sleep on that flight.
Ed Luce of the Financial Times and Caitlin Collins of CNN, both very complimentary on President Trump today. Eric Trump, before I get back into the book, give me a minute or two on that, about the man that raised you and formed you as the man you are today. It's 24/7, all the 7 days a week, 365, is it not, sir?
Oh, and that's been my entire life. By the way, I have the same, genetic, deficiency or whatever you want to call it, but I don't sleep at all either. So it clearly runs in the Trump genes, and it runs deep. And it's so funny. I remember in 2016, you'll remember this as well. Will Trump have the fortitude to be able to do it? Will he have the energy that it takes to be commander in chief? And I'm literally sitting there as a son. He'll call me. Steve, he'll call me at 5 o'clock in the morning. He'll call me at 11:30 at night, and he does it all the time. The guy never. I mean, he's the Energizer Bunny in a red tie, in a suit, on steroids. That's Donald Trump. That's how I've always. And by the way, I'd see these 22-year-old kids that work for CNN. My father would be on his 5th rally of the day in 2017, right, at one of these things, and he's freewheeling all of them, no teleprompters. They're making up these stories. Will he have the energy to be commander in chief? And I'd go over. They'd be sleeping in a corner, and there would be 4 Red Bulls, empty Red Bulls around them. I'd literally go up, take a picture of them. It's don't you dare ever write that story again. The guy's amazing. He's amazing.
This book, and folks, I realize that you're the tip of the spear in the Trump movement, and not just love the president, but support him. And support him in the darkest days of 21, 22, and 23, when the election was stolen and everybody abandoned him except for a handful of close advisors, his family, and particularly the Warren Posse. But, Eric, that's what I want to go into. Nobody knows the story, and the way you put it together, it's just not a whole of government approach to destroy a family and destroy a man. And you can tell they want to destroy this movement. It's really almost a whole society. They get the business community in, the bank. I mean, you're debanked, you're deplatformed. Nothing's ever happened like this, and you put it together. It's kind of a page turner. It almost reads like a novel. Well, just walk us through those darkest days of 21 and 22 after the election was stolen, and your father knew it was stolen. He returns to Mar-a-Lago. Tell me the pressure the family came under, sir.
Steve, I go through it in great detail. I put my heart and soul into this, and by the way, it's going to ruffle feathers. This book's going to ruffle feathers, and guys, go out, support the cause, go buy a copy. But there were dark days. I was the first one on that escalator to come down. I was the first one to stand on that stage, and I never left him. And I mean, the reason I became the piñata is my father had certain constitutional protections in Washington D.C. that I did not have as a citizen, and I ran absolutely everything that Donald Trump had ever built. I mean, he came to me when I was 33 years old, and he goes, "Eric, I want you to run the empire. Obviously, I'm doing the political thing, right? I want you to run the empire. I know it's in good hands. You've built so many of our buildings. You manage all our teams. I never thought, I thought I'd be building hotels. I thought I'd be running golf courses. Instead, I was keeping the deep state off of our family, our entire family. In a certain strange way, I almost became kind of the patriarch outside of Washington, D.C., to all of us, to the entire family. And I never left that stage. 2020 was a punch in the gut. Now, Steve, in retrospect, it was the best thing that ever happened to us, right? And that now we have the House, we have the Senate, we have a 6-3 majority on the Supreme Court. We've got a cabinet. He's got a cabinet that's killing it, right? And by the way, the media is eviscerated in this country, as you just saw from Caitlin Collins 2 seconds ago in that interview. Like, the media no longer has a voice in this country. Independent people like you have the voice in this country, no longer the media. They've totally been kind of neutered and disassembled. But I can't tell you how dark those days were. I never forget coming out of the courthouse, and I sat next to my father every single day in every one of those trials. I would not leave his side. I could not leave his side. And in the New York case, they read off 34 felony convictions, which we've totally overturned since then. And he turned around, he shook my hand. We walked out of that courtroom, incredibly proud. We got in the car, and he goes, "Honey, I don't know how, but we're going to win this whole thing." And he was talking about the presidency. He was talking about all the cases, all the felony convictions. And I said, "Dad, it's either going to be the White House or it's going to be prison. And you better believe it's going to be for both of us. They're not leaving me alone after this. You better believe it's the White House or we're in jail for doing absolutely nothing wrong." That's how dark the times were. They were turning off every bank on us. They were weaponizing every DA. Again, I became the most subpoenaed person in American history at 112 subpoenas. I don't have a laptop from hell. Steve, you know me extremely well over the last 15 years. No laptop from hell. Never touched a drug in my life. Honest guy. Runs a great business. Wakes up at 5 o'clock in the morning every single day. Loves my kid. Believes in God. Believes in country. Believes in our Constitution. Believes in our American flag. I'm a far cry from Hunter Biden. I'm the antithesis of Hunter Biden. And yet they did everything they could to destroy us. Hence Under Siege. And the name of the book was written before Butler, Pennsylvania, where I saw my father's head almost get taken off, while I had a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old sitting on my lap. It was before they tried to kill my father again at the golf course in Florida. It was before they killed. This book came out 3 days before they shot our good friend Charlie in the neck. That's what they've tried to do. They've tried to destroy you. They've tried to destroy me. They've imprisoned you. They've come after you relentlessly. They've done the same thing with me. They've done the same thing with every single one of your viewers. Why? Because they believe in a guy who wants to make our country great. They believe in a guy who, wants to restore family values in this nation. They believe in a guy that does not want crime on the streets in Chicago. And because of that, they weaponize every law enforcement agency. Because of that, they spy on our campaign. Because of that, they raid Mar-a-Lago. Because of that, they go through Melania's closets, right? And they try and take out their kids, and they try and divorce relationships, and they try and imprison employees. That's who these people are. And the greatest vindication of all is the fact that we beat these guys. And not only did we beat them in the popular vote. We won every single swing state, every state in the country tacked to the right. We won Miami-Dade by 11 points, a county that hasn't been won in 37 years in this nation. We won it by 11 points. Every demographic, whether it's African-American, whether it's Hispanic, whether it's a youth vote, whether it's, you go across, we won every single one of them. It was the greatest beatdown in modern political history. And this siege that they put us on, they did not win. They did not break us. They did not break our family. And we're stronger now as a family, as people, and as a movement than ever before.
Tell me, when you read this book, it's so overwhelming because they have the power of the state, they have the power of the media, they have the power of the financial community. Why was it that the Trump family did not break?
Maybe we're masochistic in a certain way. Maybe we enjoy pain and torture. I'm not sure. I've gotten that question a bunch of times. And maybe it's our genetics. And maybe it's because we didn't have another choice other than to fight, because if we didn't fight, we were dead. If I didn't fight, we were dead, Steve. We didn't have a damn choice. At the same time, we're the one family that does not need politics. You look at Barack Obama. He was a community organizer who now lives in Martha's Vineyard in one of the nicest houses in the island. The last thing that Donald Trump needed was to go to the White House. Believe me, Trump Force One is beautiful. You've been on it 100 times, right? Mar-a-Lago, I'd say, is the best anywhere in the world. You've been there 100 times. We're the one family that needed politics like a hole in the head. At the same time, we're the one people that both had the voice and the pocketbook. Steve, I probably spent, on behalf of the company, $400 million defending us from relentless attacks and the lawfare, right? Secret servers in the basement of Trump Tower communicating with the Kremlin. We didn't have secret servers. I mean, first of all, we're a cloud-based company. Second of all, you don't put servers in basements because basements flood. I told the FBI this day one. Come on, come down to the basement of Trump Tower. See if we have any secret servers. There was not. Yet they let that lie perpetuate for a 3-year period of time so one greedy person at first could get a couple extra votes. That was Hillary Clinton, right? And then when she was beaten so bad by a bunch of people, including myself, that didn't know what a damn delegate was, didn't know what the Iowa caucuses were because that was never the world that we were in, it allowed her to save a little face saying that there was some foreign actor who otherwise intervened, which is the only reason she lost. It was a sham, and the entire world knows it was a sham, and there's been no consequences. There's no consequences when she deleted 33,000 emails. There's no consequences when, I mean, these are the biggest criminals in the world. Back to Jack Smith, he was planting classified folders on my father's office at Mar-a-Lago. They took his medical records. They took his legal documents, protected by attorney-client privilege. They took everything. They broke every single law in their attempt to try and destroy the man's life, and they lost. And they lost in an embarrassing fashion, and I could not be more proud. So, Steve, Under Siege, it's all of that, plus all the behind-the-scenes stories that no one knows, plus the emotion that went into it on behalf of a family who was pretty much at certain times fighting alone. I mean, I'm not talking about, obviously, you were in that fight, and there was others, but there were some days, I can tell you, in 2021 where our phones stopped ringing. And my father always talked about that in the late 80s when he had the financial problems, the phone stopped ringing. We saw that as a family, and now we see the best of times, and we've never been better and stronger and better.
Eric, we're going to have you back on. What's your social media? And then go to Amazon. You must get this book, folks. I'll talk about that after the break. Eric, what's your social media? I know you get a bounce.
Eric Trump on every handle, and go to Amazon, support the cause. Let's make our voices be heard.
We're going to sell a lot of books today. We'll be back in a minute. Eric Trump, we're going to have you back on about how we sort this situation out. Honored to have you on here, sir.
Thanks,
the book is Under Siege. You need the insider's account of what they try to do to this man. Short commercial break. We're going to talk about it after the break.
I'm a J6er. I spent 1,143 days in prison.
I'm a J6er, and I spent 3 months in jail and about a year in prison.
I spent 4 years out of an 18-year sentence in prison.
J6ers have been smeared and defamed by the media, persecuted by the government, and treated like terrorists.
In reality, J6ers are patriotic men and women, mothers, fathers, sisters, and brothers from all walks of life.
Stand in the Gap was founded to stand in the gap for J6ers working to rebuild their lives after being incarcerated.
And we need your help.
For just $10 or more, you're helping these patriots get mental, physical, and spiritual help.
Please scan the QR code or go to j6support.com to donate $10 or more to support these American patriots.
Thank you for being a patriot. Thank you for standing in the gap. Now is the moment to put your brand in front of an engaged, loyal audience through Real America's Voice. When you advertise on Real America's Voice, you're not just running an ad, you're partnering with trusted voices like Steve Bannon, Charlie Kirk, and other influential hosts. Backed by millions of monthly listeners.
What's happening? Because of a Real Voice, man. I watch it all the time.
Real America's Voice rocks.
Real America's Voice gives sponsors the chance to put their product front and center, displayed on screen and highlighted by our anchors during exclusive segments and live events.
Head to freetrumpknife.com.
This means your brand becomes part of the conversation as it happens.
Secure your spot before it's too late.
Join us today and make your brand part of the news conversation that America's viewers trust. Real America's Voice, where your message is seen, heard, and remembered.
I'm Lou, Mega Pilot from Rob's Getter Shot here in beautiful Trump County, Florida. The best place for real news is Real America's Voice.
This is Rashad from Boston, Massachusetts, and I love Real America's Voice. It is the best place for real news and content. Much love.
Hi, Pep, from Muskegon, Michigan. Why do you love Rav?
Because we've become family. All those Rav live chatters and me.
America's Voice family.
Are you on Getter yet? No?
What are you waiting for?
It's free.
It's uncensored,
and it's where all the biggest voices in conservative media are speaking out.
Download the Getter app right now. It's totally free. It's where I put up exclusively all of my content 24 hours a day. You want to know what Steve Bannon's thinking? Go to Getter.
That's right. You can follow all of your favorites. Steve Bannon, Charlie Kirk, Jack Posobiec,
and so many more.
Download the Getter app now.
Sign up for free and be part of the movement.
Eric Trump is what you call a safe pair of hands. A very a dedicated young man to his work, his family, his father. When you see him worked up like that, that shows you how deep this cuts. That's where you got to get the book. I've waited for this book for a long time. People do not have an understanding of how the apparatus was turned on President Trump. And what does that tell us about the country? This is why I gave this when Charlie Kirk's last event that he managed, the Turning Point, the Student Action Summit in July. I told Charlie I'm going to do something a little different this time. Normally I come out and I'm throwing the mic down. We're at war, to get people fired up. I talked about going after the deep state, how do you dismantle it. The book Under Siege, and it goes back to the beginning. It tells you everything they've tried to do to destroy this individual. Would they do that to a Romney or a Youngkin or a DeSantis or Nikki Haley? No, they're not going to do it because they're all part of the system. Trump's not. He's a disruptor. But he's also, and this is why I say for all his flaws, and his flaws, overcoming his flaws and being the third of the three great presidents we've had. I mean, great. General Washington, President Lincoln, and now Trump. In overcoming those flaws and in delivering like he's delivering, you have to understand how much they hate it, how much not just the globalists, but the system that is embedded in this country and far different than the revolutionary generation or the founders intended. This is why on the show on the afternoon of the 20th of January, 2021, when we left Boris at Andrews Air Force Base on the tarmac, remember that? President Trump, Air Force One takes off for his last trip back to Mar-a-Lago. And we said they were playing with the Frank Sinatra song, My Way. And we said we'll be back at 5 o'clock. And this guy's president, and there's an illegitimate regime that's taken over. And we said from that very moment, in the logic of American history, he will come back, win the nomination and win the White House, and then set things right. In Under Siege, you get an insider's account. This is what the magnificent of the book is. And Eric, and look how, Eric was on the trigger right there. Why? You can see the outpouring of emotion. Because there were so many days that were so dark. And this is why a hat tip to my good friend and colleague, Boris Epstein, of what he was able to pull together on the legal team. Remember, the family, you'll see it in the book. So Under Siege. Here's what I need you to do with this book. I need you to buy the book. I need you to read the book. I need you to think about the book. And I want you to think about the book and place it in the arc of American history. And think for a second, why are they trying to destroy this guy? Why are they trying to destroy this family? Why are they? It's like the Romans at Carthage. They just don't want to defeat Trump. They want to destroy Trump. They want to destroy the Trump family, anything associated with Trump, anybody associated with Trump, whether it's Navarro in his book about going to prison, or Bannon, right? Or anybody around him, anybody associated with him, particularly people in those dark days of 21 and 22. And always remember, the reason a lot of this story is not as well known as it is that for 2-3 years he was virtually banned from Fox. Think about that for a second. Murdoch sent a memo out to his senior executives in January of 2021 that said, we're going to make Trump a non-person. We're going to make Trump a non-person. And we're going to get in back of DeSantis and Nikki Haley and all these traditional neoliberal neocon Republicans who are part of the problem, the reason we are where we are today. Madeline Peltz she's got a new Substack called, I might add, like my number two pencil. And she talks about a conversation we had earlier in the week, of which, I talked to Madeline about the Insurrection Act and what President Trump's doing in cities like Portland, in cities like Chicago, and what will happen in Memphis, in Los Angeles. And she writes, they don't think they're actually part of the United States because they're not part of the United States right now. They're sanctuary cities run by these, overseen by these radical governors, Pritzker and Newsom, and radical mayors. And that's why President Trump is, for the sake of the country, in defense of the country, and for the mass deportations, having to do this. Nobody else would do that. Do you think anybody else, think about this for a second, do you think anybody else could essentially, like Ed Luce said, do what President Trump's doing with Netanyahu? Finally treat Israel as it should be, and for its own defense must be, a protectorate of the United States of America. Not an ally. They're not an ally. It's a protectorate. It's now being treated like a protectorate. What did they say the other day? President Trump ordered Netanyahu. Who else but Donald Trump could do that? Could Marco do that? Marco was sent over when Netanyahu sent the missiles to Qatar. President Trump, as angry as he's ever gotten, sent Marco over there. What's Marco doing? The first thing he's doing is he and Huckabee going to the Wailing Wall. He's not over there to read Netanyahu the riot act. He's not going to do it. He's a neocon. He's a neocon. He's not going to do that. Only Trump. What's happening in Egypt right now in this peace negotiation, only Trump could do that. What's happening in trying to stop the war in Ukraine, only Trump could do that. He sealed the border in 60 days. You were told for years and years and years there's nothing to do, and 10 million to 12 million to 15 million people invaded the country. Think of the scale of that. Who else but Trump could stop it? That's why they tried to destroy him. The internal logic of what the apparatus tried to do is self-evident. People say, well, Trump, you got DeSantis, Nikki Haley. No, it's only Trump. Why am I the Trump 2028 guy? Because this is the third time in American history you've had it in a crisis. Washington was there for the revolution and there for the founding of the country. If anybody was essential, it was General Washington. Lincoln was essential for the rebirth of the country. And Trump is essential and is the world historical figure for the reclaiming and rejuvenation of the country. And if you read the book, you'll see everything against him. Just ask yourself as you turn every page, why are they doing this? They stole the 2020 election, right? And you read back everything they did in 2016 from the very moment he won. Actually, you see how they planned it in advance, how they knew, like the folks when I ran Breitbart, I knew in 14 and 15. This is why we had the big throwdown with Megyn Kelly and Fox News in August of 2015. Yes, when Mark Levin, Tel Aviv Levin, was the biggest cheerleader for Ted Cruz. And oh, by the way, just at the very moment that Netanyahu is now taking orders as a head of a protectorate of the United States of America, and orders you shall take. All of a sudden yesterday in the Daily Telegraph, Rob Crilly, one of the best reporters out there, has an article on Ted Cruz preparing to run for president again. Does that surprise you? Tel Aviv Levin, you saw it, by the way, his interview with Tucker Carlson was a disgrace. A total and complete disgrace. Of course, AIPAC needs a candidate. Tel Aviv Levin and these guys, this is who they were, so vicious. The other day, they put up another Breitbart thing I reposted up on Getter from, I think, April of 2016, of Levin being interviewed by Breitbart. Never in a million years will he vote for Trump. It can only be Ted Cruz. That would have turned out well. If Trump had lost to Hillary Clinton, the country would be gone, already be gone, because they would have had Merrick Garland on the Supreme Court and had the whole thing, run the whole deal. And you see what they want to do. They hate the United States of America. They hate the United States of America as a constitutional republic built upon the values of the Judeo-Christian West and a Christian nation. Full stop. They hate that. And the demons and the perverts and the degenerates that are represented in this, not even a party, whatever it is, it's a faction of the Democrats, because now it's getting more and more radical every day. You see it before your eyes. You see what they are. They tell you what they are every day. And you've had one man who stood in the breach and was relentless about it. The book from Eric Trump, and look at Eric Trump, how emotional he was, how heated it got. Why? You don't see that from Eric every day. People that know him, people who are good friends, you don't see that from him. He's a business guy. Why? Because he saw this somebody had nothing to do with politics. And when you don't have anything to do with politics, you don't see how brutal it is. How the deep state, along with the oligarchs, control the country. They run the deal. And someone like Trump comes up and he has this concept, America first and American citizens first. They are not going to tolerate that. They're not looking for a debate. They're not looking for, oh yeah, well, let's sit down. That's pretty interesting. Let me no. They want to grind you into dust. This is why we must be so focused on our resolve. We have one opportunity now. This is what do I say all the time? Maximalist strategy, a sense of urgency, and seize the institutions. It has to happen now. It has to happen while Trump's here. Every day we're burning daylight. And there are many people around him because it's still the neoliberal, neocon Republican Party they're passive. They don't want to rock the boat. They still want to go to the clubs. They still want to be in the country club. They still want to be invited on the news networks. They still want to go to the cocktail parties. They want to be part of the system. They want to say, well, I disagree, and I think, marginal tax rates are this, or, they want to argue on things that are on the margin and not to the heart of it. To the heart of it, like they tried to destroy us. And this is why Peter Navarro keeps saying, they don't think they're trying to not destroy you. This is what they try to do with the billboards and J6. That's coming after you, and they will come after you in the future. This fight is far from over. Far from over. Short break. Gold, overnight, or at least in the futures, hit 4,000. Birch Gold, take your phone out, text Bannon, Bannon, at 989898. Get the ultimate guide for investing in gold and precious metals in the age of Trump, because that's what we're living in, the age of Trump. Short break.
I'm a J6er. I spent 1,143 days in prison.
I'm a J6er, and I spent 3 months in jail and about a year in prison.
I spent 4 years out of an 18-year sentence
in prison.
J6ers have been smeared and defamed by the media, persecuted by the government, and treated like terrorists.
In reality, J6ers are patriotic men and women, mothers, fathers, sisters, and brothers from all walks of life.
Stand in the Gap was founded to stand in the gap for J6ers working to rebuild their lives after being incarcerated.
And we need your help.
For just $10 or more, you're helping these patriots get mental, physical, and spiritual help.
Please scan the QR code or go to j6support.com to donate $10 or more to support these American patriots.
Thank you for being a patriot. Thank you for standing in the gap. Now is the moment to put your brand in front of an engaged, loyal audience through Real America's Voice. When you advertise on Real America's Voice, you're not just running an ad, you're partnering with trusted voices like Steve Bannon, Charlie Kirk, and other influential hosts. Backed by millions of monthly listeners.
What's happening? Because of a real voice, man. I watch it all the time.
Real America's Voice rocks.
Real America's Voice gives sponsors the chance to put their product front and center, displayed on screen and highlighted by our anchors during exclusive segments and live events.
Head to freetrumpknife.com.
This means your brand becomes part of the conversation as it happens.
Secure your spot before it's too late.
Join us today and make your brand part of the news conversation that America's viewers trust. Real America's Voice, where your message is seen, heard, and remembered.
I'm Lou, Mega Pilot from Rav's Getter Chat here in beautiful Trump County, Florida. The best place for real news is Real America's Voice.
This is Rashad from Boston, Massachusetts, and I love Real America's Voice. It is the best place for real news and content. Much love.
From Muskegon, Michigan. Why do you love Rav?
Because we've become family. All those Rav live chatters and me.
Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Next hour, we're going to have, hopefully, depending on Senate votes and how things are going, Senators Tuberville, Banks, and Hawley to talk about not just the spying on the Senate, which I think has gotten, and this is extraordinary. I want to go back. You had Ron Johnson. Ron Johnson sat there, and what did Ron Johnson, Senator Johnson, ask for? Whistleblowers to come forward on this Arctic frost, right? The Jack Smith, the whole spying thing. And he said, Dan Bongino is out looking for information. The FBI can't find all the information because they're hiding it. This gets back. This is why I called the FBI the Gestapo. I don't know why we're not taking it apart. I love me some cash, and I realize he's got, law enforcement and other things to do. But you're not going to. This apparatus is not going to be tamed until you start taking apart brick by brick. That means the CIA and the FBI. And they said, "Well, gosh, how can you have national security if the CIA? What is the CIA called? Right? The second anniversary of this attack in Israel by the Muslim Brotherhood. That was, remember, it was over 40 miles. It was air, sea, land. It was highly sophisticated. They're coming in like paratroopers on gliders. They had the floor plans for the kibbutzes. They knew about who they had on the guard towers. They knew about the Burning Man festival they had down, I guess, along the perimeter of Gaza. They know it all. Did the CIA know anything? Has the CIA called anything right? Has the CIA called anything right? With the trillions of dollars we spend on intelligence, what did they get right? I can tell you, having getting the presidential daily brief every day, You know how Navarre and I used to try to piss them off? Ask them, why is this classified? They go nuts. They lose it. It's a third-rate organization. Now, what it's best at is enforcing the established order on American citizens. That's what they're good at. What they're good at is controlling the deal. They're not good at protecting the country. Did they get the Ukraine war right? No. They say, well, we know it, telling people about it. No. Au contraire. Now, they may be running, and probably are, and I believe out of V-Spot, and are running big parts of the Ukraine operation now, the war. All kind of dark secrets in Ukraine that no one wants, that they don't want exposure or hiding. The senator from Wisconsin stood there in front of a microphone yesterday. Thank you, Grassley. And what did he do? He used that as his time to ask folks in the FBI, could you become whistleblowers? Is that extraordinary? And he said the deputy director of the FBI, Dan Bongino, who's as tough as boot leather, right? Dan's a tough guy. They says he can't unearth all the stuff because it's being hidden. What does this also tell us? The deep state's a living, breathing thing, and this is why at Tampa I said we have to take it apart and grind it to dust now. We don't have the opportunity. This is why last night with Roger Kimball, who I think is one of the smartest guys I said, he got into this thing about what things we're doing. He says, well, we're going to have 8 years of Marco or JD and then 8 years of JD or Marco. So we got, I said, no, you can't hope for that. You can't, don't let that be your calculation. It's today. It has to happen today. It has to happen today. If it doesn't happen today, it's not going to happen. That's why I keep saying we're burning daylight. We are burning daylight every day. And the people around President Trump right now on the shutdown, have you noticed Russ Vought has not come out with plan A, B, or C. Plan A being we're letting half of them go or letting all the non-essentials go. Plan B, we're letting half of them go. Plan C is we're letting some. No, you haven't seen any of that. Why? They're all around President Trump, all the donor class and all the corporations and all the big business guys and all the rhinos up there, which when I say rhinos are, I don't know, 90% of them are telling President Trump, oh, you can't do this. You gotta do this. You can't do this. Please don't do that. And hey, there may be some reason for negotiations and there's nothing to negotiate about the illegal aliens. There may be some issues President Trump wants to deal with on a part, but it doesn't mean you unlock it. Right now, you grind it to dust. You take Russ Vought's, hey, you gave me a menu, let me pick the feast. Or if not, let half of them go. And make sure half of those non-essentials are in the CIA and FBI. Start there. Don't believe me. Eric Trump has given you an amazing opportunity to get an insider's account. You get to see it from the inside, and you'll see the overwhelming power of one of the more powerful families in the country because of Donald Trump's $7 billion, also his presence in the media before he became president. And look what they did in the first term. And then the second, when they thought they knew they'd stolen it, he was gone and never coming back, but they had to destroy the very memory of Donald Trump as a warning to any other politician to say, you step out of line and don't play in the conventional mode of Republicans like Nikki Haley. If you're not a neoliberal neocon and want to talk about marginal tax rates and whether the arms shipment to Israel is $5 billion or $10 billion, we're going to destroy you. We destroyed Trump. We destroyed Trump's family. Who are you? Because we will destroy you too. That's what this was about. That's what it's still about. We are such a long way to go to victory. And remember, there's no middle ground here. It's either we win or they win. Don't take it from me. Read Under Siege and think about it. And share it, but think about it first. The more you think, the better we are. The more you think, even think about something like gold's at 4,007. Where'd you hear that first or was going years ago? Not to give you a price, but to understand that this thing was going to be on fire right here. How? We told you about the prime reserve currency, the dollar, fiat currency, why gold's been a hedge throughout history. Birchgold.com, promo code Bannon. Go check it out today. The second hour, I don't know if it's be as on fire as the first, but we're gonna try. We're gonna try our best. Bunch of senators coming up in the war room next.
Patriots, it's time to gear up. Real America's Voice has an entire lineup of merch made just for you.
We got some Rav fans out here.
We watch you every day.
From mugs that start your morning strong to hoodies, hats, t-shirts, pants, vests, flags, and so much more.
Yeah, I noticed it. I mean, that caught my eye big time.
Every piece lets you wear your pride loud and clear. This isn't just merch, it's a movement. When you shop Rav, you're showing the world you're proud to be part of the Real America's Voice family.
God bless Real America's Voice.
So don't wait. Scan the QR code right now or visit realamericasvoice.launchcart.store to shop today.
Thank you, Real America's Voice, for doing true journalism.
Stand tall, be bold, be proud. Represent your voice with Real America's Voice.
It's good to have a real news network out there, so I'm a big fan.
Use code RAVSWAG10 for 10% off.
Real America's Voice rocks.
Through every storm, every moment of uncertainty,
everybody needs to pray for Charlie Kirk right now.
Rav has stood strong.
We're not going to tolerate this stuff anymore.
Turn that anger into motivation to save this nation.
When we move together, there is power.
The cries of this widow will echo like a battle cry.
This is more than news. It's a movement.
This revolution of people taking their countries back.
A turning point. A chance to be part of something greater than yourself. Scan the QR code and stand with Rav. The story isn't over, and neither is your part in it. Step in. Be counted. Be heard. Together, we are Rav.
We will achieve American greatness. And we are just getting started.
This is the primal scream of a dying regime. Pray for our enemies, because we're going medieval on these people. You're not got a free shot on all these networks lying about the people. The people have had a belly full of it. I know you don't like hearing that. I know you try to do everything in the world to stop that, but you're not going to stop it. It's going to happen.
And where do people like that go to share the big lie? MAGA media. I wish in my soul, I wish that any of these people had a conscience.
Ask yourself, what is my task and what is my purpose? If that answer is to save my country, this country will be saved.
War Room. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
It's Tuesday, 7 October, year of our Lord 2025. 2 years ago today, the horrific assault by the Muslim Brotherhood on Israel and the citizens of Israel. We're going to have more about that hopefully later in this hour. We'll pull it together. Also, Jack Posobiec would join me this afternoon. Jack and I did that live. It was Saturday. We did a live for a couple of hours when the assault was actually happening. We'll hopefully pull some clips from that, and then Jack will join me this afternoon. I got Senator Tuberville. Before bringing Senator Tuberville, let me play the clip we did in the cold open. I want to play this clip and have Senator Tuberville respond.
Solicitation of these telephone records, which I think emphasizes the political weaponization that was behind all this effort. And we're still getting more information. But we've released some records today, and I'll let Senator Johnson take over from here, and then each one of you colleagues can join in when you want to, whatever you want to say.
First of all, I want to thank Senator Grassley. It is because of his relentless advocacy for whistleblowers that a lot of this information is surfacing right now. We wouldn't know about the list of 100 Republican entities that were targeted by Jack Smith's Arctic Frost investigation. I don't think we know about this as well. So we need whistleblowers. I think Dan Bongino and other folks in the FBI, they don't know where all the records are hidden. They still don't. They're not necessarily getting 100% cooperation. But this is outrageous what has happened. I just want to give you a timeline of this. I think you've already got the FBI sheet that shows the number of members of Congress that were targeted. Representative Kelly, Senators Graham, Haggerty, Hawley, Sullivan, Tuberville, myself, Senator Lummis, and Blackburn. This memo was dated September of 2023. To put it all into context, the Mar-a-Lago raid occurred in August of 2022. Jack Smith announced the indictments against President Trump in August of 2023. So this is almost 2 months later. They're casting this net, this fishing expedition against members of the Senate and the House. Again, I've been investigating this with Senator Grassley. This doesn't surprise me, but it should shock every American of what the Biden administration has done. By the way, this is the first time I was targeted by the FBI. Under the Obama administration, the same thing happened to both Senator Grassley and I. As part of the Foreign Influence Task Force, we were giving a briefing to try and convince us that the Hunter Biden laptop was no big deal. Basically, they're trying to throw us off the track. So this is major corruption that's being revealed inside the Obama and Biden Department of Justice, the FBI, and I'll turn it over to, I guess, Senator Haggerty, who's one of the individuals. Again, none of us were subject or targets of this investigation. There's no predicate. There's no reason for this other than a fishing expedition, which again should outrage and shock every American.
Senator Tuberville, can you explain to people exactly what's going on about this entire thing, sir?
Well, Steve, as you well know, the last 4 years before President Trump was a complete disaster. The animals were running a zoo. Joe Biden was somewhere off in the White House walking around, and somebody else was running our country. 100% was after President Trump. Everything that they did was to bring our country a little bit farther into socialism, and the other was to block President Trump from having any opportunity to ever be reelected again, because he's one of the few people that will go after him. Now, the canaries are starting to sing. This happened because of a whistleblower. Dan Bongino brought us all in. I had no clue what this was about, and basically said, listen, you have been breached. Your telephone logs have been breached, ingoing, outgoing calls by a task force put together by Jack Smith. He was fishing. He was fishing for any kind of information on President Trump. I know exactly what he was looking for. I had talked to President Trump as early as right after the so-called, or right before the so-called insurrection. So my phone calls from January the 4th, 2021 and on were confiscated by the FBI. And this, by the way, investigation has just started. We will know more as the week goes on about what happened and why they did it, and more whistleblowers will come to the front. People will be called in to testify. Grand jury has it in their hands now. They couldn't give us all the information, but it's the socialist, communist Democrats at their best. They're just fighting as hard as they possibly can to bring this country down and fight against people that love America.
But Senator, this is another element to show you they're at war with us. This is not normal politics. This is not arguing and debating in the Senate. I know you came to the Senate, and I would say you admit fairly naive about how the government works and how things work. And you get up here and you see what a cesspool it is. But you also see how the Democrats ran a police state. These aren't just average people. You're in the most famous and a deliberative body in the world. Since the Senate in Rome, you are considered the height. And they're going after folks like you, not just the little Americans who they can crush. They're trying to crush the most prominent people in the country that they think disagree with them. This is how do you can't. This is my point. There's no middle ground here. They're at war with us, and they said we just had Eric Trump on here in the book Under Siege about the family, but you're seeing it right now with a handful of very prominent senators where they were coming after you to destroy you, right? They were coming after you because Jack Smith wanted to bring criminal charges on Senator Tuberville, because Senator Tuberville happens to be a tough guy who's not going to take any nonsense and is up there to represent the people in Alabama to get results and answers, sir.
Exactly. I was called by their investigators several years ago, about answering some questions here in my office in front of investigators about January the 6th. And again, I was there, and I told them there's no way I'm going to talk to you, because I knew how corrupt they were, how crooked they were, and who they were after. It was none of their business, to be honest with you. So they've done everything they possibly can, Steve. And, being an American, we're briefed every year on China, Iran, North Korea, Russia, that they're countries that are trying to get into our phones, they're trying to get all of our information, maybe listening to conversations. I never dreamed that our country would do something like this. This is absolutely embarrassing, and it's just the tip of the iceberg. They're probably going after you and any of the conservative media. This is just one whistleblower that's brought all this up. It's going to continue. A lot of people will get in trouble over a lot of different things, including things like this, and they should. But we need more whistleblowers to come forward to tell what they saw, what they had to do, what they were convinced to do. And people need to go to jail. People back in Alabama, Steve, tell me, say, Coach, listen, when are people going to be indicted? When are people going to go to court? And I am 100% there. We cannot allow this opportunity to go away. We have got to take advantage of this and get our country back. And it's the only way we're going to be able to do it.
I absolutely agree. We have to strike, and we have to strike now. But I want to go, when you have Senator Ron Johnson up there and you guys are back up and say, hey, Dan Bongino doesn't know where the information is because it's being hidden from him. He's deputy director of the FBI. I mean, it's so blatant that they have people, they still run the apparatus. What is your recommendation to the President of the United States to break their hold on this? We're now sitting here in September of 2025. We're over 250, almost 300 days, I guess, into this, close to 250 on this administration. The United States senator has to stand up at a microphone with senators in back of him that have been illegally surveilled, and they have to ask for whistleblowers to come forward because the deputy director of the FBI tells them they're hiding the information from us. They won't come forward, and we need a whistleblower to be brave enough. What does that tell us about our control of the system, sir?
Well, the control of the system is the Democrats slow playing everything that's going on up here, and that's part of their game plan. They do not want to confirm anybody. They don't want to put anybody in place that can actually do the job. Now, you can get people like Dan and Kash Patel, but you have to have people that are going to work under the back of the scenes, and it has been almost impossible to get anybody confirmed for a position. And this is exactly the reason why. There are so many things out there that they broke the law on. They are trying to stall, hopefully, to get President Trump out in 3 years, and none of it comes to light. But I'll take my hat off to Dan and Kash, because I talk to them regularly, and they are digging as hard as they can. This was a committee that was basically underground doing the background work, and luckily one of these members come forward and said, listen, this is what we did, and we think this is wrong. And so more and more is going to have to happen like that. We got to put pressure on them. People have to go to jail, and again, I think that people have to be called out for it. And if we have an attorney general that's got to go after these people, and we have to indict them. They have to pay the price for what they've done. If they don't, it's over. Sack the bats and circle the wagons, because we'll lose our country.
Where do we stand with recess appointment? I know you made some changes that you get some people through, but there's still tons of backup. And like you said, it's the second and third tier that we need to get in there. Where do we stand with the appointments themselves? And are you prepared to tell Thune, hey, man, we got to go to recess. We got to go to recess. Let Trump make these appointments. Somehow we've got to ratchet the game up, sir.
Well, we changed the rules. We had 50 that were confirmed at one time before the recess last week. We're doing the same thing today. We will confirm 104 people that should have been confirmed 6 months ago, but they'll be confirmed today. That will almost catch us up to everybody other than the federal judges. Federal judges have to be separate. So we're filling positions right and left now. It took us 6 months to figure out Democrats weren't going to help us. They're just playing a stall game, four corners basketball. They don't want anything to be found out. But I would say before Christmas, we're going to have everybody in place, Steve. That'll give us 3 years in which to start swinging a bat. I just hope it's time enough to where we can save the midterms next year and save the House and the Senate. Because if we don't, they're going to try to impeach President Trump every day if they get the House.
Last question for those great folks in Alabama that come up to you and say, Coach, when are we going to start seeing some perp walks? When are we going to start seeing some guys, some trials? When are we going to start seeing some folks go to prison? What is your answer today?
Well, I would say in the first 6 months of next year, you're going to have indictments. You're going to have people that are going to have to be getting a lawyer, spending millions of dollars of their money on something like this. President Trump had to do it. Roger Stone had to do it. It is embarrassing, but we have to hold these people accountable. They are trying to destroy this country, and they've got a foot in the door. We got to kick that foot back out. Put them in prison, do what needs to happen for the American people's sake. Give them a peace of mind that something's actually being done.
Senator Tuberville, where do people go to find out more about you and know you're running for governor of Alabama? Where do folks go?
Just at Senator Tuberville.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you taking time to join us.
Thank you, Steve.
The voice of American common sense right there, Coach Tuberville. Incredible. Got to act. You got to act now. And God bless Dan Bongino. Dan can't leave. I mean, Dan's hammering away. Cash is hammering away. Is it perfect? No, it's not perfect. But think about it. Dan's telling them, hey, guys are hiding the information. We're trying to dig it out. Folks over there, too, ought to understand. You don't come forward now, you're going to have hell to pay. And you do not want to go to Danbury, but that's where you're going. You've got to start having some examples. What Comey is going to be arraigned on Thursday, that's just an appetizer, his charges. He's got to get rolled up in this entire conspiracy. Action, action, action. Take your phone out. Take action on this right now. Text Bannon, Bannon, at 989898. The ultimate guide, which happens to be free, for investing in gold and precious metals in the age of Trump. Gold's at 4,000. Understand why.
Patriots, it's time to gear up. Real America's Voice has an entire lineup of merch made just for you.
We got some Rav fans out here.
We watch you every day.
From mugs that start your morning strong to hoodies, hats, t-shirts, pants, vests, flags, and so much more.
Yeah, I noticed it. I mean, that caught my eye big time.
Every piece lets you wear your pride loud and clear. This isn't just merch, it's a movement. When you shop Rav, you're showing the world you're proud to be part of the Real America's Voice family.
God bless Real America's Voice.
So don't wait. Scan the QR code right now or visit realamericasvoice.launchcart.store to shop today.
Thank you, Real America's Voice, for doing true journalism.
Stand tall, be bold, be proud. Represent your voice with Real America's Voice.
It's good to have a real news network out there, so I'm a big fan.
Use code RAVSWAG10 for 10% off.
Real America's Voice rocks.
Through every storm, every moment of uncertainty,
everybody needs to pray for Charlie Kirk right now.
Rav has stood strong.
We're not going to tolerate this stuff anymore.
Turn that anger into motivation to save this nation.
When we move together, there is power.
The cries of this widow will echo like a battle cry.
This is more than news. It's a movement.
This revolution of people taking their countries back.
A turning point. A chance to be part of something greater than yourself. Scan the QR code and stand with Rav. The story isn't over, and neither is your part in it. Step in. Be counted. Be heard. Together, we are Rav.
We will achieve American greatness. and we are just getting started.
My name is T.J. Ash from Carbonville, Utah. Real America's Voice lets me express my conservative views without censorship or edit. My name is T.J. Ash from Carbonville, Utah. Real America's Voice lets me express my conservative views without censorship or edit.
Hi, this is Kelly Renee from Northern California Hills, MAGA country. The reason I watch Real America's Voice is for the faith, the family, and the freedom. Giddy up!
Commemoration of the 250th anniversary of the birth of the United States Navy.
It is really jaw-dropping. Thank God I'm an American.
Bo, is the military getting weak? The answer is no. This is about unity. Morale here is great.
We couldn't be more thrilled and excited to be here today.
God bless the United States of America. And go Navy, beat Army.
Fight. We will win. Congratulations once again on 250 years of total dominance. Stay strong. Thank you. God bless our sailors, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you very much, everybody.
Real America's Voice was the go-to place today. Thank you guys for doing this.
That right there at the end was Captain Sean Spicer. He puts it on today. Pete Hegseth, they're going to have a ceremony, and Jack Posovic's going to be there. We're going to try to pick it up live this afternoon. Posovic, Pete, everybody. Commander Jim Banks joined. Commander, have you fleeted up to captain yet? You're still a commander?
Congratulations to Captain. To our friend Sean Spicer. He's gonna be a great leader. You know, Steve, I never made it past lieutenant. I was a lieutenant in the Navy Reserves. Very proud to be a Navy veteran. I served in Afghanistan. Happy 250th birthday to the greatest branch and the greatest military in the history of the world. Go Navy, beat Army.
Yeah, I was a lieutenant too, which is equivalent to an Army captain, we might add. Senator Banks, your day job now. Just about Sunday, it was pretty impressive. I was so glad the president finally had a chance to go out and be with the fleet at sea. What are your thoughts about what you saw on Sunday about our great Navy?
Those sailors love their commander-in-chief, and you've seen what's happened in just a short period of time, Steve. Morale is way up in the military. Recruitment numbers are way up since the day that Donald Trump won on Election Day in November. The Navy has far surpassed its recruitment goals. That's a big difference from the last 4 years under the weakest commander-in-chief that we've ever had. These soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines, they love Donald Trump. They're proud to serve their country. And you saw that on full display in Norfolk on Sunday with President Trump there. The projection of strength of the United States military is seen nowhere more than with our great Navy around the world. And those sailors know it. They're proud to wear that uniform. And I thought it was a great display. I'm proud of President Trump and the First Lady for going there to be with our sailors and celebrating this very, very important occasion for our country and for our Navy.
Just want to give our viewers a heads up. The Prime Minister of Canada will be arriving momentarily. We're going to do a split screen. There's going to be a bilat. That'll probably be during the Charlie Kirk show, but we'll show the arrival. I might add that there is a color guard out there. I'll comment more on that a little later. Senator Banks, there's show horses and workhorses. You're known in the Senate as a workhorse. Talk to me about this very big issue, vital issue that you're drilling down on about a thing called the census. Well, what's the problem? What's the issue? And why has it got Jim Banks' attention? You're known as a guy that doesn't waste your time on things. Why are you focused on this?
Well, Steve, you patched into an important event that I hosted in Indianapolis a few weeks ago, calling for a 9-0 map in Indiana for our state legislature and our governor to redistrict in Indiana. There's a big reason that a lot of us are calling for this to happen right now, and the biggest reason is because the 2020 census was a complete fraud, and we now know that. I mean, the numbers bear this out. It's been proven to be true that the Biden administration, when they gathered all of the data from the 2020 census, they used this shady privacy formula to shield illegals in the 2020 census. And this is why President Trump is calling for a new census, first and foremost. I fully support that. But this week, yesterday, I sent a letter to Secretary Lutnick at Commerce, which oversees the census, and I called on him to do a few things. First and foremost, release the data from the 2020 census and tell us if which will tell us a lot. President Trump wants a new census, and that's a big lift. That there will be a lot that goes into that. But I think if the Department of Commerce releases this data and shows what happens with this shady privacy formula, that should give the motivation for all of these state legislators in Indiana and other states. Missouri's already did a midterm redistricting. The Democrats are seizing on this redistricting in blue states like California. But the only way to right the wrong is to go into states like Indiana and redraw. Indiana is a barn red state. We are a very Republican state. You can pick up 2 House districts in Indiana, and the justification for doing that is because they were using this formula. And we don't know until Department of Commerce releases this data from the fraudulent 2020 census. We don't know exactly what the populations were in, say, the 1st district, which is represented by a Democrat, Frank Mervan in Indiana, or the 9th district that's represented by a Republican, Aaron Houchin. I think these numbers are going to bear it out to show that the way that these districts were drawn back in 2022 wasn't completely fair. So I've also asked Secretary Lutnick to get back to us on whether or not the shady privacy formula will be used in the 2030 census. We need to do away with it forever and set the groundwork for that right now. And then also we need to make sure that the citizenship status is a question on the 2030 census, and it is completely false that the Supreme Court struck that down. And that is not what happened. That is not what the Supreme Court struck down. It is not unconstitutional to ask a citizenship question on the census, and whether we do redo the census right now, or when the next census is supposed to happen and scheduled in 2030, there must be a citizenship question on that census to make sure that illegals are not counted in any census again. So I think this is one of the biggest political controversies in American history, what the Biden administration did to cook the books on the census and how they stole congressional seats and electoral college votes from the last election. I mean, Steve, I'll quit rambling with this. Florida should have had 2 more seats. Texas should have had 1 more seat. And Minnesota, Rhode Island, and Colorado should have had 1 less seat. And if you do the math on the electoral college, President Trump would have won the last election even without winning Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. He would have won the electoral college vote in the 2024 election without those states. Thank God he won them anyway. He needed them because of this fraudulent fake census and the way these districts were drawn in the last election. We have to right the wrong and do something about it, and that's why I'm leading the fight to do that.
This is one of the most important things. Let's do a little pattern recognition. A couple of minutes I got you for. You've got this, which is absolutely the foundational element, right, and so important. But also, you guys are sitting up there right now, and a Schumer shutdown because of health care to illegal aliens. And the President of the United States is now, with his advisors, thinking, do I do Title 10, a martial law, or we do Insurrection Act because of because the inability and really the resistance of Democratic officials in Chicago and Portland, both governors and mayors, about the deportation of illegal aliens in this country. What does that tell us about the modern Democratic Party, Senator Banks?
Well, it tells you a lot. I mean, it tells you that they cheated by flooding the country with illegals and then counting them in the census for the makeup of the congressional maps and the Electoral College vote, because all they care about, Steve, is power and permanent power. And the way that they gain permanent power is to cook the books and make up these congressional seats and add fake Electoral College votes by counting illegal immigrants. So that's who they are. This is who they are the party that represents illegal immigrants and the radical party that does not represent real America in this country. My dad, you and I have talked about this before. My dad was a union, a Democrat, factory worker all of his life. He voted. He thought the Democrats represented the working man, and voted that way all of his life until Donald Trump came down that escalator and became a Trump Republican. And that's because our party under Donald Trump, unlike the Republican Party of the past, represents these working men and women, and the Democrat Party represents something that my dad and my grandpa would never recognize. That Democrat Party, they represent illegals and the radical transgender movement and the radical element in this country that wants to tear this country apart. And that's why Republicans are winning with Donald Trump, and we got to keep it that way. We can't let them cheat again and fake censuses to create fake congressional maps and Electoral College votes. We got to stop them from ever doing that again.
Same with my dad, a Union Democrat, loved Reagan and loved Trump. I mean, was one of Trump's first guys that came and said, that guy's got to be president. Real quickly, we got 30 seconds. The Hoosiers are known for common sense and fairness. Your constituents, they have your back on this, sir?
Totally. And they want, Hoosiers want us to right the wrong, go in and save this country, redraw these congressional maps, and there's a pathway here to draw fair maps in Indiana that give 2 more Republican congressmen and the majority to keep the majority and support President Trump for another 2 years.
Senator, what's your social media? What are your coordinates? People want to follow you. Where do they go?
Go to @Senator Banks on X. Find me at Senator Jim Banks on Facebook. We appreciate the feedback and the support.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. Short commercial break. We're going to return. We'll leave you with Modern Day Holy War from Nicole Negrady. Return to the Word in just a moment.
Through every storm, every moment of uncertainty,
everybody needs to pray for Charlie Kirk right now.
Rev has stood strong.
We're not going to tolerate this stuff anymore.
Turn that anger into motivation to save this nation.
When we move together, there is power.
The cries of this widow will echo like a battle cry.
This is more than news. It's a movement.
This revolution of people taking their countries back.
A turning point. A chance to be part of something greater than yourself. Scan the QR code and stand with Rev. The story isn't over, and neither is your part in it. Step in, be counted, be heard. Together, we are Rev.
We will achieve American greatness. And we are just getting started.
I'm a J6er. I spent 1,143 days in prison.
I'm a J6er, and I spent 3 months in jail and about a year in prison.
I spent 4 years out of an 18-year sentence in prison.
J6ers have been smeared and defamed by the media, persecuted by the government, and treated like terrorists.
In reality, J6ers are patriotic men and women, mothers, fathers, sisters, and brothers from all walks of life.
Stand in the Gap was founded to stand in the gap for J6ers working to rebuild their lives after being incarcerated.
And we need your help.
For just $10 or more, you're helping these patriots get mental, physical, and spiritual help.
please scan the QR code or go to j6support.com to donate $10 or more to support these American patriots.
Thank you for being a patriot. Thank you for standing in the gap.
Hi, this is Chris from Wisconsin, and I love Real America's Voice because we have great news and a great chat family. God bless all of you.
Lazar Garcianovich here from Japan. Love Real America's Voice, real news, honest views, and love seeing everyone there. God bless America.
My name is Sandy Zeiss. Rav is the greatest for me because I live alone, and when I'm watching in the morning, have my coffee, I feel like I'm talking with family.
Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Okay, welcome back. Senator Hawley joins him now. He just came off of the House Senate Judiciary Committee. I'll get to that in a moment. Look, Senator, here's what you got to explain to folks. Because we've had Tuberville up, and you've got yourself and Johnson and some of the more fire breathers and people that are action-oriented. I want to describe to people exactly what the FBI did to you guys, Jack Smith did to you guys, but more importantly, why are we having to be supplicants in this? Why does Senator Johnson have to go to the microphone and say, hey, a whistleblower came forward, Dan Bongino admits they don't have control over this, as hard as they're working, Dan and these guys are working, but we have to, people in the United States Senate, the most selective, deliberative body in the history of mankind. Okay, we only have 100 of a nation of 330 million. Why do you have to act as a supplicant to get information about a federal police force and an out-of-control prosecutor that is basically trying to intimidate and imprison United States senators, sir?
Yeah, and how about this, Steve, that we don't know, even now, we don't know who ordered these wiretaps, which is essentially what it was. We don't know who was involved in it. I just asked the Attorney General under oath just now, a few minutes ago. I said, who was involved? Who knew about it? Was the White House involved? Joe Biden? And she said, basically she doesn't know. We got to know. I mean, we need to find out. These are 8 senators, including me, who were wiretapped. But, Steve, as you know, that's the tip of the iceberg here. They went after Donald Trump like nobody's business, and they went even beyond that. They went after Charlie Kirk. They went after 90 different conservative organizations. They went after ordinary people, normal, hardworking people. Pro-lifers, they prosecuted. Catholics, they tried to recruit spies into their parishes. This was all happened at the same time, by the way. It's that 2022, 2023 time period when the FBI and DOJ were completely off the leash. I mean, I say that. They were really doing Biden's bidding at every turn, and we still don't have accountability for what happened. And it's going to happen again unless we get some accountability real quick.
And didn't they come consistently up and either bald-faced lied or obfuscated what was going on during those years, sir? Because people were trying to get folks realized something was not right. You were trying to get answers, and the folks there at the time either bald-faced lied to y'all or obfuscated so you couldn't find it, sir.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'll just walk through a few of the instances. Let's just take the school board memo where Garland turns the anti-terrorism division of the FBI onto parents. I asked him about that to his face. I said, did the White House have any involvement in this? Joe Biden, he said, no, that was a lie. We now know the White House directed it. The Catholic parishes memo, trying to recruit spies into parishes. I said, did you actually send this out to agents? They said, oh, no, it was just a draft. That was a lie. They sent it out to over 1,000 agents around the country. They said that they weren't targeting any political opponents. They were wiretapping my phone. I mean, these guys are unbelievable. And Steve, we still don't have accountability. I don't know who's been fired. I want to know. I don't know who's being prosecuted for this. We need to see some prosecutions. And we need to know who was involved from the Biden administration from the top down.
So from the Senate perspective, how do we help assist President Trump? Because we understand they're overwhelmed. They got so much going on. He's trying to put down an insurrection in Portland and Chicago and Los Angeles. What would be your recommendation to the president? I know he talks to you frequently. What would be your recommendation? Because now we got to stop the nonsense, right? And we're burning daylight. This thing's got to be addressed. It's got to be addressed today, and it's got to be made a priority. So what would be your recommendation, sir?
I think that I think they need to put a DOJ. I just said this to the Attorney General. I think DOJ needs to put a prosecutor on this whose sole job is to go get all of the facts, who has total authority to investigate and interview and subpoena everybody. They need to talk to Joe Biden. They need to talk to everybody in the Biden White House. They need to go talk to who was running the FBI at the time. They need to talk to Merrick Garland. And we need to get answers. There needs to be total transparency. They need to make all of their findings public. If there were violations of the laws, I believe they were, they need to be prosecuted. But we need somebody who is running point on this, whose job is to get in there and get the facts and expose the rot and the corruption. This is classic deep state stuff. Classic. And that's what we're up against now. That's what the president is up against, is this deep state corruption. And we need to blow the doors off of it.
Because this gets to my point. We can't be supplicants waiting for whistleblowers, waiting for people to have either a conscience change or be afraid of prosecution to come forward. We've called for this, a special prosecutor. And that prosecutor, in your view, would impanel a grand jury? I mean, they'd have the ability to do that. It would be totally vertically integrated?
Exactly. Put a special prosecutor into place, give him or her total authority to impanel a grand jury, give him all the tools of investigation. This is why we have the special prosecutor statute. This person would report to the Attorney General, but they would have the full authority to get out there, get outside the bureaucracy, don't have to get it signed off by 15 people, get outside the bureaucracy and get after it. Go figure out who wrote these memos, who authorized these wiretaps. You know, you think about the Trump persecution. We still don't know who within DOJ and FBI was really involved in that either. I mean, at this remove, we don't know. I mean, raiding his home in Mar-a-Lago multiple times, we still don't know everybody who was involved in that. We need to know. And people who did this stuff need to be prosecuted.
Normally, we would be live watching you guys on Senate Judiciary on such a big day of oversight with Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, but we've had Eric Trump and had other senators on here about this very topic. Give us a tone today. I particularly want to know the Democrats' questions, and what are they focused? Are they focused on the things that you and others in the Republican side are focused on, sir, when they're going after the Attorney General?
No, of course not. In fact, I think it's kind of hilarious, Steve. I've heard them today talk about, how this DOJ, Donald Trump's DOJ, is going after political opponents. I was like, are you kidding? I haven't heard a word of concern from them about the fact that Joe Biden literally wiretapped people in the opposition party he didn't like. I mean, wake up, guys. I mean, admit the facts. So, no, they're living in a total alternate reality, Steve, and they're going to continue to live in that alternate reality. We know that because they're the party of the deep state. And the only way that we put to bed this chapter in American history of total corruption of our institutions under Biden is we've got to expose it. We've got to have total transparency. We've got to have full accountability. That's how we put this thing to bed once and for all.
But how do they now? We've kind of crossed the Rubicon to a degree that this is about the Senate. How do you guys talk to them? Because we're talking about not just separation of powers. This deliberative body has always been held out as something so special. How do you deal with these guys now when the Biden regime and the Biden FBI and DOJ came after senators? Forget the political party. I mean, how do you guys talk amongst each other? Don't they realize that this is leveled up now? This is somewhere we've never gone in the history of this country, sir?
I sure hope that they do. And I just pointed out to him just now on the committee, Steve, you took the words out of my mouth. This is what I said to him. I said, are you going to allow this to happen? Are you actually going to sit here and lecture Pam Bondi on targeting political opponents when you just watched your guy wiretap 8 United States senators, when you just watched your guy recruit spies into Catholic parishes in America, when you just watched your guy go after 92 private conservative organizations, including Charlie Kirk, TPUSA? Where's the outrage from them? I mean, we need to hear it. They need to take responsibility for what's happened, and they can be part of the solution, but we got to clean it up right now. This is what the American people elected us to do, is to clean out the rot, and it needs to happen right now.
Senator, you've got Senator Banks was on here about the census and about the algorithms and about the illegal aliens that were illegally counted in the census. He's calling for data come from the Commerce Department. You're currently in a Schumer shutdown because of Medicaid and Medicare and paying for illegal aliens' health care. You've got the President of the United States right now with his most senior advisors talking about they're going to do Title 10 or Insurrection Act to basically go into these Democrat cities run by these radical mayors and governors to actually implement mass deportations on illegal aliens. What does it tell you about the Democratic Party? I mean, how would we even deal with people that the entire axis they rotate around is not citizens of this country, but actual illegal aliens?
Yeah, it just tells you that they've been captured, Steve, by the radical far left, by the socialists, by the Marxists. And, you know, it's sad. It's bad for the country because, as you say, I mean, who are they advocating for? I mean, they're the party that basically is run by George Soros and the billionaires and the oligarchs. Let's not forget where the money comes from here. They're run by the oligarchs who fund them. And then they carry out these policies that are for the radical leftists and that hurt working Americans. The whole ethos right now of the Democrat Party is grind working Americans down, grind them into poverty, silence them, shut them up, destroy their lives. And we just can't have that in this country. This is why the Republican Party's got to step up and be the party of the working man, because they don't have anybody else. There's nobody but us to fight for the working person in this country. The Democrats have lost it.
So where do we stand from your perspective on this government shutdown? I mean, we would love to see Russ Vought step up with the Russ Vought plan and the president approve it to start to deconstruct the administrative state and send half these guys, the non-essential workers, home permanently. But from an inside baseball perspective, where do you think we stand on the Schumer shutdown right now?
I think at this point we're still in total gridlock because it's interesting. You just mentioned the president. The president's out there saying, hey, you want to talk about making health care cheaper? Great, I'm here for that. But the Democrats, they're not interested in that. They say it's about health care, it's about this or that. No, it's not. It's about Donald J. Trump. They hate Trump. They have not accepted the fact that he won the election. They have not accepted the fact they lost every single battleground state. They hate him. They're deranged, and they're just doing all they can. They think this hurts him. That's all I can figure, Steve. They think this hurts Trump, and they're willing to keep the entire country shut down, hurt our military, hurt our veterans, hurt our seniors. They don't care. They don't care so long as they think it hurts Trump. I tell you what, though, it's not hurting Trump. It's hurting the American people, and that's going to be on them, and they're going to have a lot to answer for.
With the demographic shift in the country and the certain shifts within states, we just talked about those banks. I mean, if you did a mid-decade census, it'd be over for them. The 2030 is going to be over for them anyway. And it looks like right now we can get 21 seats, gross amount, right, depending on what happens in California for this midterm. They are looking at stark reality that they're not going to be able to win at the ballot box. So where does that put them? How do you deal with people that support something this radical, but also understand it's going to be almost impossible for them to win national elections, sir?
Well, yeah, and this is why they're doing what they're doing, Steve. I mean, you're exactly right. This is why they want illegals counted in the census. This is why they want to be able to redistrict in all of their states every single year, but prevent every red state from ever doing so, which is absolutely absurd. The Constitution gives the power to the states to draw those lines. Democrats don't want red states to do it. So, yeah, I mean, they're hell-bent on power. And, Steve, this is how we ended up with wiretaps on U.S. senators. This is how we ended up with Trump getting his home raided at Mar-a-Lago, because they are hell-bent on holding on to power. I mean, you ask what's the outcome of all of this. The outcome is they are so desperate to hold on to power, they're willing to do just about everything, anything. And we're seeing all of it right now. And I tell you, I hope that their better nature will prevail. But at the end of the day, we Republicans have got to be willing to do what it takes to save this country. And I go back to tearing out the rot in the deep state. We have got to do that, and we have got to do it right now.
Senator Hawley, social media, what are your coordinates? People want to follow you, where they go?
You can go to joshhawley.com, which is my webpage, and then follow me on all the social platforms at HawleyMo. And you can always find me there.
Always an honor to have you on here, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
This afternoon, we're going to play highlight reels from all of Pam Bondi's grilling today at the Senate Judiciary Committee, the Oversight birchgold.com. Understand why gold reached $4,000 today? Birchgold.com, promo code Bannon, the end of the dollar empire. Find out why gold is a hedge against times of geopolitical and financial turbulence for 5,000 years. Short break. Back in a moment.
Through every storm, every moment of uncertainty,
Everybody needs to pray for Charlie Kirk right now.
Rav has stood strong.
We're not going to tolerate this stuff anymore.
Turn that anger into motivation to save this nation.
When we move together, there is power.
The cries of this widow will echo like a battle cry.
This is more than news. It's a movement.
This revolution of people taking their countries back.
A turning point. A chance to be part of something greater than yourself. Scan the QR code and stand with Rav. The story isn't over, and neither is your part in it. Step in. Be counted. Be heard. Together, we are Rav.
We will achieve American greatness. And we are just getting started.
I'm a J6er. I spent 1,143 days in prison.
I'm a J6er, and I spent 3 months in jail and about a year in prison.
I spent 4 years out of an 18-year sentence in prison.
J6ers have been smeared and defamed by the media, persecuted by the government, and treated like terrorists.
In reality, J6ers are patriotic men and women, mothers, fathers, sisters, and brothers from all walks of life.
Stand in the Gap was founded to stand in the gap for J6ers working to rebuild their lives after being incarcerated.
And we need your help.
For just $10 or more, you're helping these patriots get mental, physical, and spiritual help.
Please scan the QR code or go to j6support.com to donate $10 or more to support these American patriots.
Thank you for being a patriot. Thank you for standing in the gap.
Hi, this is Chris from Wisconsin, and I love Real America's Voice because they have great news and a great chat family. God bless all of you.
Lazar Garcianovich here from Japan. Love Real America's Voice, real news, honest views, and love seeing everyone there. God bless America.
My name is Sandy Zeiss. Rav is the greatest for me because I live alone, and when I'm watching in the morning, have my coffee, I feel like I'm talking with family.
America's Voice family.
Are you on Getter yet? No?
What are you waiting for?
It's free.
It's uncensored.
And it's where all the biggest voices in conservative media are speaking out.
Download the Getter app right now. It's totally free. It's where I put up exclusively all of my content 24 hours a day. You want to know what Steve Bannon's thinking? Go to Getter.
That's right. You can follow all of your favorites. Steve Bannon, Charlie Kirk, Jack Posobiec.
And so many more.
Download the Getter app now.
Sign up for free and be part of the movement.
Boys, this show been on fire. This afternoon we're going to Jack Posobiec on the very grim and horrifying events of 2 years ago, 7 October 23. Jack will join us. Now, Jack will be at a presentation for Captain Sean Spicer, but we're going to figure this out and play some clips from the show we did live 2 years ago. We'll get into all that. Jake Seawolf joins us now. Jake, My Patriot Supply, one of my favorite companies. The reason it's one of my favorite companies, we have this kind of deal at the War Room when we work out with a sponsor. We say, hey, look, I don't really sell things. What I do is give people information, access to information. It's worked for so many of our sponsors, and really such a great job by you guys because you understand a lot of this is foreign to people, and you want to walk them through it. Walk us through My Patriot Supply, Jake.
Well, Steve, My Patriot Supply, I mean, we're founded by trusting Americans like everyone here, the War Room Posse, all patriots that walk this earth. Like, we've helped a lot of people. People call in all the time to explain to us how their food reserves, their power reserves have helped save their life, their neighbors' lives. And I mean, we're in a walking thing where like FEMA just is not supportive at all. I don't know if you guys heard, but FEMA just froze over $300 million in emergency preparedness funding until states prove their populations. And I don't know what that means to you, but it definitely does not mean anything good to me. I'm not a fan of FEMA at all. They always show up late. People get killed under their watch all the time. But with our products, we try and keep it as affordable as we can. Our margins are lower than most people. And also, even when you call in to our phone number, 866-229-0927, like, the War Room Posse is our favorite people to hear from. I was just sitting down a couple days ago with our guys that answer the phones all day, and they get so excited. They were just talking about how awesome you guys are. You guys are the most respectful that call in. And so just keep calling in, guys. Keep bugging them. They love it. I love it. Get your families to do it. Right now we're doing a winter prep special, 3-month kit. And this little bad boy, this is our new solar power bank. It's awesome. I never leave home without it. It's included in the bundle. It's free. 65 watt output. I can charge all my stuff really quickly. Let other people use it after that. It's phenomenal. And we love you guys.
Talk to us. This is what I love. When you go, you can know nothing about this space, but you call, you either get online or you call, and you're going to have a sales consultant, an advisor, and they'll walk you through everything. In other words, you have questions about any of the products on the site. These guys will walk you through it in detail.
Oh, absolutely. So we have our own formulas. You call in, you tell them your situation, your family situation. And then we'll look at like what your budget is too. We're not trying to steal from you. We're not trying to break your bank or make you have to refinance your home or anything, because that's robbery. We're not going to do that. We're going to see how we can best get you prepared for your budget and your family and what you need. Make sure you're not buying all the fluff, all the crap that you don't need. So we're all about you.
Jake, one more time. What's the number, the site, the website, and also the phone number? Because we want people to go there, visit, check it out, and then call and talk to a human being, a United States citizen. Where do people go?
Yeah, absolutely. Go to mypatriotsupply.com. Website's very top of the page, 866-229-0927. And you will be directly communicating with an actual American citizen.
Perfect. At your next staff meeting, we hope they're still raving about the War Room Posse. They are polite. If they're calling Capitol Hill or something like that, sometimes, I don't know, the politeness sometimes leaves. But no, they're the greatest audience in the world, greatest people in the world, the backbone of the country. Jake Seawolf, My Patriot Supply. Sure. Folks, go check it out today. They've got different specials every day. They got incredible. The product depth is just unbelievable. And just a great company. They'll walk you through soup to nuts if you don't know anything about it. They'll walk you through, but go check it out. Another access to information we give you. Mike Lindell, your ears must have been burning today because a lot of this show was about you and the other patriots that stood with President Trump, and we start with Eric Trump about how they tried to destroy the Trump family. One day we're going to tell Mike Lindell's story. I saw it from the inside. You can't believe, and here's the thing about Lindell. If he had only groveled and said, oh, no, I was wrong. It's not the machines. It was all fair in 2020. I was wrong. All of this would have gone away. Yep. The effort to put him in bankruptcy, the effort to destroy his company, the effort to destroy him and put him in prison. Just remember, if at any moment, even now, if Lindell just said, hey, I was wrong. It's not machines. The 2020 election wasn't stolen. Biden's a legitimate president. Trump is wrong. Trump is bad. He wouldn't do that. And that is why they are trying still to destroy Mike Lindell. So, Mike, our audience right now wants to know about deals. You're still in business, so what deals do you have for us?
Absolutely. And by the way, everybody, I want to quick tell you on that. Dallas County just voted to go to paper ballots, hand counted in the primaries, and this will be the biggest county we have so far in the country. This is huge news. But My Pillow, you guys are the reason we're still here in our faith in God, and this is the last day for the free shipping on every product we have, and the 3-in-1 sale. I want to tell you that we probably have 2 days left of the sheets at $29.88, any size, any color. They're all still available. You guys get them now. I believe we have a couple days left, and then we have the My Towels that came in. There's going to be another gap. You guys have responded to help us out. We're turning inventory as fast as we can. Those towels, $39.98, normally $69.98, and they ship for free. And then we have the My Pillow premiums that we've never had this low in history. These are all the factories working round the clock right down there. Made in the USA, $17.98 for the queens, $19.98 for the kings. You're never going to get them at a lower price, and plus with the free shipping. So if you go to mypillow.com/war room, there's those top 3-in-1 sale there. But add on the free shipping too, and you see those big ticket items. Get the mattresses or the mattress toppers. Remember, made in the USA, 60-day money-back guarantee, 10-year warranty. You don't have to worry about the warranty because, yes, we're going to be here 10 years from now. We're not going anywhere in spite of the attacks. Promo code War Room, everybody.
Yeah. Charlie Kirk is next. Poso after that. We are back here at 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, 5 to 7 live. We'll see you then.
Welcome to Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Your quick look at the powerful stories of faith and freedom, inspiring audiences across the nation. Angel Studios presents.
I'm Bo Davidson with your Real America's Voice, Real Minute. What was George Washington like before he became our nation's first president? The brand new film Young Washington tells the untold story of Washington's early life, his failures, and how that shaped his path to become the leader that would spawn America's independence. It's a bold, authentic story that is neither woke nor watered down, and it's directed by John Irwin, who brought the world I Can Only Imagine, American Underdog, and Jesus Revolution. Take a listen to Irwin talk about the project here.
First of all, it's an incredible story. It's a story that not many people know. What's interesting about George Washington is it wasn't his greatest victory that defined him as a young man. It was his greatest failure and how he responded to it that made him George Washington.
Everyone kind of knows George Washington as our first president, but few know how he actually got there. The defeats, the misfortune, the critical mistakes at Fort Necessity, dashing all of his hopes and dreams. He resigned his position and became an aide to a general, and in an unreal act of bravery, took fate into his own hands.
And Washington, in this act of bravery with strength that he didn't have, mounted a horse and charged towards the battlefield when everyone else was running away. He had 3 horses shot out from underneath him. He had 4 bullet holes, 2 in his jacket, 1 in his hat, and he just became George Washington in this moment on the field of battle.
The idea that there was a divine hand in Washington being saved that fateful day is a key theme of young Washington's tale. It's one part Pride and Prejudice and one part The Revenant. It's the story of how a man didn't let defeat define him, but instead took that defeat and turned it not only into his own fate.
The Charlie Kirk Show starts now.
We have terrorist organizations, and that's what I keep reminding people is we're not just dealing with criminals. We've got networks of cartel members and terrorists that are infiltrating these cities. And every day that we don't bring them to justice, they're recruiting new members.
Well, we're going in. I didn't say when. We're going in. When you lose, look, I have an obligation. This isn't a political thing. I have an obligation. When we lose, when 20 people are killed over the last 2.5 weeks, and 75 are shot with bullets, we're going to do it anyway. We have the right to do it.
It wasn't until President Trump actually showed the strength to say, hey, we're going to take back the
and protect our ICE agents. We're going to send in National Guard. Then all of a sudden we start seeing local support.
Instead of going after the bad guys, they're just picking up people who are brown and black and then checking their credentials. Are you a U.S. citizen? I don't know about you, but I don't carry around papers that say I'm a U.S. citizen. They need to get out of Chicago. If they're not going to focus on the worst of the worst, which is what the president said they were going to do, they need to get the heck out.
I mean, we had a week in Chicago where 11 people were murdered and 38 people were shot. And then we have a governor get up and say, oh, it's safe, we can handle it. He can't handle it. He's an incompetent guy. That's why they threw him out of the family business.
Breaking news that we're following this afternoon. A high-ranking member of a street gang is charged with putting a hit out on a senior law enforcement official involved with Operation Midway Blitz. Police arrested 37-year-old Juan Espinoza Martinez this morning. And according to the U.S. Attorney's Office here in Chicago, Martinez sent a Snapchat message stating, quote, $2K on information when you get him and $10K if you take him down. The Tribune reports the alleged target was Border Patrol Chief Gregory Bovino.
Well, let's be clear that it is illegal, in fact, to call out the National Guard or to send troops into American cities. The Posse Comitatus Act prohibits that. And yet they tried to do it in Oregon. They're going to try to do it here in Chicago.
Who's going to stop them?
Well, the courts. That's who's going to stop them. And that's what happened in Oregon. I assume that a court here will do the same thing.
Well, in Portland, where I'm originally from, the Democrats and Antifa have a symbiotic relationship. They both benefit when their political opposition, their shared enemies, conservatives, those who are supportive of the President Trump, are silenced either through violence or intimidation. Antifa act as the shock troops, and the Democrats in power will run cover for them.
And Governor Pritzker is providing aid and comfort to the riotous mob that is physically assaulting, obstructing, impeding, and attacking ICE officers. And his latest act, declaring that there are no-go zones where federal law enforcement is not permitted, is truly an act of insurrection against the federal government.
I refuse to let Donald Trump, Kristi Noem, and Gregory Bovino continue on this march toward autocracy. Their plan all along has been to cause chaos, and then they can use that chaos to consolidate Donald Trump's power. They think they can fool us all into thinking that the way to get out of this crisis that they created is to give them free rein. Well, that plan will only work if we let it. The state of Illinois is going to use every lever at our disposal to resist this power grab and get Noem's thugs the hell out of Chicago. I'm not afraid. I am not afraid, and I won't back down.
What I do know is the rank and file police officers here in Chicago do support Immigration and Border Patrol. It's just they're not allowed to say anything. They've got a mayor that will fire them if they say anything. They've got a governor that is wildly out of control with his rhetoric. So they're up against it both ways. We do need to get to the bottom of it because, Sean, there's going to be more incidents just like this because it's a war zone out there. Secretary Noem mentioned a bounty on the heads of federal agents, that $2,000 to kidnap, $10,000 to kill senior Border Patrol officials and senior ICE officials here in Chicago. Now, Sean, what happens between the kidnapping and the killing portion? That's something out of a third world country. Is this America?
Welcome to Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Your quick look at the powerful stories of faith and freedom, inspiring audiences across the nation. Angel Studios presents.
I'm Bo Davidson with your Real America's Voice, Real Minute. What was George Washington like before he became our nation's first president? The brand new film Young Washington tells the untold story of Washington's early life, his failures, and how that shaped his path to become the leader that would spawn America's independence. It's a bold, authentic story that is neither woke nor watered down, and it's directed by John Irwin, who brought the world I Can Only Imagine, American Underdog, and Jesus Revolution. Take Take a listen to Irwin talk about the project here.
First of all, it's an incredible story. It's a story that not many people know. What's interesting about George Washington is it wasn't his greatest victory that defined him as a young man. It was his greatest failure and how he responded to it that made him George Washington.
Everyone kind of knows George Washington as our first president, but few know how he actually got there. The defeats, the misfortune, the critical mistakes at Fort Necessity, dashing all of his hopes and dreams. He resigned his position and became an aide to a general, and in an unreal act of bravery, took fate into his own hands.
And Washington, in this act of bravery with strength that he didn't have, mounted a horse and charged towards the battlefield when everyone else was running away.
Every day, there's a battle for your mind raging. Information coming from every angle with the will to deceive. Fear not. You found the place for truth. The voice of a generation that still has the will to believe in the greatest country in the history of the world. This is the Charlie Kirk Show. Buckle up. Here we go.
All right, welcome to the Charlie Kirk Show. This is Andrew Colvett, executive producer of this show. I'm joined by the not-so-secret weapon, Blake Neff. Welcome, Blake. We've got a great show in store for you. We've got Mark Halperin coming up in this hour. We've also got Andy Biggs in studio, and we've got Cliff Maloney, who will also be joining us in hour 2 about some of the efforts that he's doing in New Jersey to honor Charlie. But I want to take the start of this show to address some of the things that have been going around on public, namely about a group text chain that has been made known and released by Candace Owens. And I just want to address it head on because, that was a screen grab that I had shared with people. So it is authentic. And I want to go into it because I actually am really excited that the truth is out there. I first want to say the reason I didn't share that screen grab publicly is because it was a private exchange, and I felt like it didn't necessarily comport with things that were already public. I wanted to not betray my friends' trust in that way. But I did share it with some people in government because it happened really quick. It was, it took 33 hours for authorities to get their suspect. And in those first moments, we wanted no stone unturned. We wanted to leave nothing unturned. So I shared it with a few people. Don't know where it went from there, apparently. But here we are. So one of the reasons, Blake, that I'm glad to have this now public, it was not mine to share publicly, but one of the criticisms we've received is that we don't care, we're not investigating every lead, we're not looking under every stone, and that somehow we're just sweeping things under the rug. And when I say that we want justice for Charlie more than anybody else, I really mean it, and no stone unturned. I mean, I don't know if you want to chime in on that part alone, but I have more to say.
Yeah, it has been so frustrating to have people blow up about this. Yeah. And I've certainly stated publicly, the reason I haven't weighed in on things is I am an eyewitness to events, and they've said, don't comment on things because anything you say can mess that up. I don't want to mess up any trial for the person who did this.
That's 1,000% right. And I will say I wasn't an eyewitness. I was not there. I flew to Utah immediately to be with the family and the team, but I was not an eyewitness. So there's that. But I am aware that in my role as spokesman for Turning Point USA, which is another hat I wear, that things I say, I'm cognizant of the fact that things I say could negatively impact an ongoing investigation. All right. But I will weigh in specifically on this issue of Israel because I know there's a lot of fascination. And I just want to say that, we have to let free speech be our North Star here, okay? Charlie was adamantly free speech, and I am not personally going to impugn anybody's character who is asking questions and looking for answers, all right? And I will say that text chain is consistent with public frustrations that he voiced many times, and I know, Blake, you were in the trenches on a lot of this stuff because we were workshopping how we were going to do the tour and what he's going to get asked about Israel, what was he going to say. And this is consistent with things that he told his friends, people that are, in the wider movement about his wrestle that he was going. And so I just want to say, what is the truth about the way Charlie felt about Israel? Well, it's complicated and it's nuanced, and it was a wrestle that was going on for months. And it's probably somewhere between the Bibi letter and the text group text.
I don't even think there's a between about it. I think those are entirely consistent with the exact same worldview. Yes. Charlie was not hiding things from people. People are going to try to make you fixate on a particular quote or a particular line to make you think that there was something hidden. There was nothing hidden about Charlie's views on Israel. Like Charlie, I worked with Charlie on every major issue that we talked about, immigration, abortion, the transgender stuff. And he thought about the Israel issue a ton, all the time. It was in the news all the time. People cared about it a lot. He cared about it a lot. Just before the shooting happened, I finished reading, this is a 700-page book about the history of the Israel-Palestine conflict. I read this book because Charlie said, Blake, get really well-versed on this so you can help me whenever it comes up and just know stuff off the top of your head. Yeah. So I read it for that reason. If you want to know Charlie's views on the Gaza war, he wanted the war to end. He didn't want America to take Palestinian refugees. He was annoyed when people advocated that. He didn't want American troops on the ground there or with any other war. And he was upset when he saw stories about churches being damaged or Christians being killed. But at the same time, he recognized Hamas started the war. Hamas could end the war. Israel ultimately represented European civilization. Hamas represented Middle Eastern barbarism. And Hamas were the chief evildoers, and people who supported them were almost always supporting them for these bad, like, anti-civilizational reasons. Yeah. That's what his view was, and he was public about that. And then as it continued, Charlie talked to young people all the time. He could see what was going on the internet. He could see among young conservatives there was a big shift to be hostile to Israel. There was a shift big time on the left, but it was also visible on the right. He could tell anti-Semitism was rising in America, and that upset him. Charlie was public about this. He loved Israel, he cared about Israel, and he cared about how that and he wanted to help the pro-Israel movement.
Yeah, and I want to play this. It's a long clip, but I said something on the Alex Clark show that was, in my mind, completely consistent with Charlie's public views about Israel, and that is something that he expressed very publicly on Megyn Kelly. Now, I know this clip has gone viral, but I think it's worth playing again. So here's Charlie in his own words with Megyn Kelly, cut 65.
And I will say this, the behavior by a lot, both privately and publicly, are pushing people like you and me away. Not like we're going to be pro-Hamas, like we're going to, but we're like, honestly, the way you are treating me is so repulsive. I have text messages, Megyn, calling me an anti-Semite. I am learning biblical Hebrew and writing a book on the Shabbat. I honor the Shabbat. Literally the Jewish Sabbath. I visit Israel and fight for it. And there's another article out in the Times of Israel today. I could read it on air. I was just reading before I got on. Charlie, what are you doing? Like, why are you? What am I doing? I'm sorry. Like, let's just take a step back here. Like, I'm an American citizen. Yes, I want Israel to win. Yes, I'm a Christian. But, like, some of the mess, and you've seen how I've been treated, Megyn, by some, not all, by some.
No, it's very irritating.
It's
been so unfair. They were coming after you after Turning Point for, among other things, that you had Dave Smith there. Dave Smith is allowed to criticize Israel. You had both sides. The Israeli side was overrepresented. Though.
No, you're not allowed to. It's even worse than that. Again, I just want to repeat for the 5th time. I love Israel. I want Israel to win. But my moral character is now being put into question, Megyn. Not my decisions. Not like, hey, are you doing this? Is it smart or is it dumb? But no, I am a bad person if I do this. And I could go, you saw it, Megyn. It was trending on Twitter, thousands of tweets and text messages. And if I were to be charitable, because they're at war and war tends to make things black and white, and you're a hammer looking for a nail. So I'm trying to be charitable, Megyn. Literally, I'm trying to cut as much slack as I can, right? Like, okay, what would it be like if all of a sudden I'm starting to see a pattern of behavior similar to what my grandparents saw in 1930s Germany online? How would I behave? So that's like my charitable kind of overcompensation spirit. At the same time, I'm like, but it's not defensible to be dumb. Right?
Yeah.
So,
and it's offensive. It's offensive to those of us who have been out there defending them in many instances against critics on our own side.
So this group chat text, he does say, that he is leaving him no choice but to leave the pro-Israel side. Here's what I want people to know. Charlie said these things publicly and privately to us, like that he was frustrated. He would say something like that, and then he would go in a public situation and he would strike a more moderate tone, and we can blow the brakes if we have to.
No, I wouldn't frame it that way. I would say he was frustrated because he didn't like. We can get into this actually.
Well,
once we get past the break here.
Well, no, it's fine. What I'm saying is he would be frustrated, but like the point when I say moderate tone, when he would say something off the cuff, maybe to you or to me or to some other friend, like his public statements, he would kind of strike just a little bit more tender tone, if you will. And so here's the thing. I looked at that moment as like he's just blowing off steam. He's frustrated. He's venting, right? And I just want to say, like, you know, he made that very clear under any circumstances that he was not going to be cowed or bullied into deplatforming Tucker, for example. He made that expressly clear to us. Would he have invited Candace? I have no idea. You know, I think what he was saying in that text, he's like, keep coming at me, bro, and let's see what happens, right? And Charlie was wonderfully defiant. He was wonderfully independent, and he would not, you know, he believed in the freedom of speech, and he felt like he deserved, as a friend of Israel over many years, the right to speak out and have criticism. We're going to keep going through the break just a little bit longer, and then we'll bring in Mark Halperin. We'll be right back. Yeah, so I will say one other thing, is that he's loyal. Charlie was loyal to people that he had shared history with, right? He was asked, I think this may be what you were about to say, Blake, he was asked about Candace before in public, and he would always say, listen, we're friends. He would never say an ill word about her, and if people, you know, tried to force him to do that about Tucker or whatever, he would always be defiant because he didn't want to be morally blackmailed.
Exactly. Charlie was... He was loyal to people who had ever been friends to him, whether it was very old donors or just people who had worked with Turning Point. Yep. And you know, as long as they were not attacking him, he would not air any dirty laundry or, frankly, any disagreements he had with people. He did disagree with Candace on the Israel issue. He disagreed with Tucker on the Israel issue. But he also recognized Tucker had positions they agreed on. Tucker was a useful voice in the conservative movement on many things. And so he invited him to events, and, you know, they were popular events. And so he would react. Sometimes people would just say, yeah, don't invite him, or we're going to, you know, cut off some large donation. And that would make him angry. He would say this, yeah, as you say, this is moral blackmail. And he's this Scottish guy. He's combative. His reaction to that is, you know, the classic, like, screw me, no, screw you, you know, that sort of thing.
He had, and it's one of my favorite parts about Charlie is just how, like, defiant and independent he was.
Yeah,
he was never going to
be... He could not be controlled by other people.
You could not buy him, he was not bought and paid for. You could not control him with money. It just wasn't the way he was wired. He didn't actually care about money that much.
And so what's going on here? What is going on here, you guys can look up what the text say. What is going on is, Charlie, as I mentioned, he loved Israel, he cared about Israel, he cared about the Holy Land, and he was aware there was a surge of anti-Israel sentiment on the right. Charlie thought seriously about this issue and was trying to chart a path forward for people who were sympathetic to Israel. He was playing the good cop here. He was saying, you guys don't realize how bad it could potentially get. You have to change your PR. That's why he writes a letter to Bibi. You are losing the PR war. You need to change how you do your PR. You need to change your messaging to the American right. You might need to change what you expect from us, that you're not going to be able to count on just, for example, unlimited military aid from America. That's just not going to be tenable going forward. So maybe it has to be a more passive relationship. Maybe you need to give more support towards America. Some more support towards America in, for example, opposing Islamic migration into America. That's one thing he thought we could ally on. And he was trying to do all of this because he cared about the relationship and wanted to chart a way forward on it. And he would feel angry and upset when people would react to this by blowing up and suggesting he was an anti-Semite or a hater. He would get angry about that because he knew it was untrue. And then he would sometimes vent about this. He would vent about this to people who understood that, who were pro-Israel people who shared his view on that issue.
Well, exactly. And just why I, didn't share this publicly, it was because this was a private message between Charlie and some people, some Jews and non-Jews, where he was, frustrated. He was frustrated, and that would have felt like a betrayal to my friend because he never said anything like that publicly in like a show, right? He said things with Megyn that were very, like, we just played them. I went on Alex Clark's show, and I felt like I did a faithful job of expressing what I believed his genuine feelings were. And I just want to say, like, one final note here. Actually, we're gonna welcome back radio, and then we'll have Mark Halperin on. But I have